Henry Cejudo just had this fascinating encounter with Sona Dong before their main event this weekend. Henry took to X and couldn't help but throw a little shade, writing, "Just ran to the Dong, he's smaller than I thought."
Yo, Ryan!
What's up, guys? How are you? Good to see you. What's up, how are you? I'll see you Saturday.
Now, here's something that's genuinely intense. Dan Hooker is stepping into what might be one of the most brutal fights of his career against Justin Gaethje at UFC 313. Hooker, who's currently sitting at number 6 in the lightweight rankings, is going up against the third-ranked Gaethje, and his mindset about this fight is absolutely chilling. Speaking to ESPN, Hooker laid it all out there with this incredible attitude. He said, and I'm still amazed by these words, "I think that's why God put me on this earth to get into fistfights. If I'm finally going to get this fight and change my tune, this is what I've been calling for the whole time. Live by the sword, die by the sword is just the way you have to approach life." But wait, it gets even more intense. He continued with this remarkable perspective. "I'm going to go out there and it's going to go one of two ways. It doesn't matter what happens, I'm prepared. I know full well 100% this fight is going to end. No matter whether his hand gets raised, my arm gets raised, I'm going straight on a stretcher, straight into the back of an ambulance, and I'm going to the hospital." The way he embraces this reality is just mind-blowing. I've accepted that. I've come to terms with that's how the night is going to end. I've come to terms with that. I've embraced that. So if someone is not willing to go the lengths I'm willing to go to, they're going to have a bad night. And get this, his confidence is through the roof. If I wake up on fight day, no matter what's going on, if I look down and my left arm is attached to my body, I'm confident, baby. I know I can send any man walking the face of the planet to Mars, so I'm not worried about it. In some exciting news, the UFC has just signed former Bellator welterweight contender Austin Vanderford, and he's not wasting any time. He's already jumping into action this weekend at UFC Seattle, taking on Nikolai Veretnikov in a 175-pound catchweight bout. It's worth noting that Veretnikov, who earned his UFC contract through Dana White's Contender Series, had a tough promotional debut in August, falling short in a split decision against Danny Barlow. Here's some big news for flyweight fans. Former champion Alexa Grasso is making her comeback at UFC 315 on May 8th. After losing her title to Valentina Shevchenko at UFC Noche, she's facing the red-hot Natalia Silva, who's been absolutely dominating with a stunning 12-fight winning streak. Silva's last victory was particularly impressive, outclassing Jessica Andrade for a unanimous decision win in September. Also on the UFC 315 card, we've got an intriguing middleweight clash between Marc-Andre Barriault and Bruno Silva. Both fighters are desperately seeking to turn things around. Barriault's struggling with 3 straight losses, while Silva's situation is even more dire, having dropped 4 in a row and winning just 1 of his last 7 fights. Here's what happened next in the world of MMA, and wow, there's so much to unpack. Now let me tell you about this incredible moment between 2 legends. Georges St-Pierre recently shared some amazing words about Jon Jones, and it really shows the respect between these champions. GSP said something that really captures Jones's essence. "I think it's hard to find someone better than Jon Jones. Jon Jones is extremely talented, but he's also extremely tough. People have no idea how tough he is. Jon Jones is the full package. He's got everything. It's hard to have an argument." And you know what? Jones was truly touched by this. He reposted GSP's quote on his Instagram story with a simple but meaningful "an honor" and a prayer hands emoji. Speaking of incredible fighters, Justin Gaethje just opened up about his toughest mental challenge in the octagon. He revealed that his fight with Max Holloway was unlike anything he'd experienced before. What makes this so fascinating is that Gaethje, being a lightweight, never thought he'd face Holloway, who was competing at featherweight. But man, what a fight it turned out to be, with Max delivering that stunning knockout in the final second of round 5 to claim the BMF title.
In your hardest fight mentally, I think the Max fight was a very difficult fight mentally for me because he's a 145 pounder, I'd never, ever pictured or dreamt or thought that I would ever fight him. And then when it came along, it was really a mental challenge to get myself there. And yeah, that was a tough one.
Now here's some drama for you. Daniel Cormier is not having any of Belal Muhammad's talk about moving up to middleweight to challenge Dricus du Plessis for the title. DC's point is pretty straightforward. He thinks it's ridiculous that Belal's talking about moving up when he hasn't even defended his welterweight title since beating Leon Edwards.
How many title defenses does Belal have?
Well, I mean, I mentioned all those younger guys.
How many title defenses does he have?
Oh, only
to be talking about moving up
right now.
How many title defenses?
I believe he's got 0.
0. He won the belt and has not fought since.
I'm right on 0, right?
Yeah, he won the belt, beat Leon Edwards, and hasn't fought since.
Yeah.
How can we be talking about him leaving
he has
the weight
a fight coming up against Shavkat in.
Oh, remember Shavkat was supposed to fight him in December, and then Shavkat was supposed to fight him in December, and then Belal got the staph infection, so Shavkat fought Ian Machado Gary.
Aren't they rumored to be fighting on maybe UFC 315? Is that what I heard? Is that
it's in Miami? It's in Miami.
When are these guys fighting?
Belal Muhammad and Shavkat, they're not scheduled to fight, dude. That's why I think.
So I'm going crazy. I thought it was UFC like 315 or something.
That's why people come to me and going, "Well, your partner said." I'm like, "Who?" And they're like, "Ben." I'm like, he lies all the time.
After UFC 312, TJ Dillashaw dropped some interesting thoughts about Sean Strickland's performance against du Plessis. He brought up that old sparring session between Luke Rockhold and Sean. You know, the one where Luke admitted he was hungover, but still held his own. TJ's absolutely convinced that Luke would handle Sean in a fight. Here's what he said, and you can hear the criticism in his words. The Sean we're watching in this fight, Luke pieces him up. Sean, for whatever reason, was like gun-shy. He's a volume fighter, and for whatever reason, he's pop-shotting. He's throwing one jab at a time. He's throwing one push kick at a time. He's not putting combos together. He's not feinting. He's not moving his head. He's a robot. He was standing straight up tall and throwing a jab the whole fight. I think that Sean was hopefully going to evolve coming into this fight, and I thought he looked worse than the first one. Fresh off his victory over RoboCop, Jared Cannonier's already eyeing his next challenge. And this is exciting. He wants to run it back with Robert Whittaker. Their first fight back in 2020 ended with Whittaker taking the decision, but Cannonier's not letting that or his age slow him down. At 40, he's still chasing that middleweight title dream with everything he's got.
But Whittaker, a rematch with him, is that something that makes sense to you, or do you have someone else in mind?
Yeah, that's one thing I was thinking. Out of all the guys who I've above me, Robert Whittaker will be I think a more entertaining. One has more entertainment factor. Two, more of a there's history because he beat me in that first fight handily.
Yep.
He lost his last fight. I won my last fight. So there's that momentum contrast there. We're still close in the rankings. There's so many different factors, but yes, I think Robert Whittaker would be a good rematch to be had to help progress my career. Hopefully towards the title, because that's definitely what I'm going for. I'm definitely aiming for the top. So theoretically, that would be the one.
We continue with the latest MMA developments, and there's so much excitement to share. Here's something interesting from John Anik. He's pretty skeptical about these rumors going around about Ilia Topuria moving up to lightweight to challenge Islam Makhachev for the title. Anik feels the UFC isn't likely to give Topuria an immediate title shot. Instead, he thinks we might see Topuria face either Charles Oliveira or Dustin Poirier next. What's fascinating is that Topuria is already putting it out there. He's called out both fighters, saying a fight with Charles would be his fastest route to the title, while mixing it up with Dustin would give the fans an absolute barn burner. Now,
I don't have any informed speculation here. I don't. But I do not believe that they're going to do Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. I really don't believe that's going to be the case. So I do think it's going to come down to a non-championship setting, Charles Oliveira or Dustin Poirier at 55. And I think they probably do Volk versus Diego Lopez for the vacant featherweight championship, or maybe an interim champion.
Now, let me take you back to 2009 for a moment. Remember that legendary knockout when Anderson Silva defeated Forrest Griffin? Well, Forrest just shared something shocking on the Jackson podcast that puts that whole fight in a new light. He revealed that just weeks before facing Silva, he suffered a devastating knockout in training. The impact was so severe that he completely blanked on the incident. Even more concerning, every time he trained leading up to the fight, he was getting knocked nauseous. He was actually thinking about pulling out of the fight altogether. Here's
fight with emphasis. So I did what everybody does when they're going to fight Anderson Silva. I overtrained for that fight, and I got knocked the out 14 days before the fight. Knocked out to where don't remember anything. Here's how knocked out I was. I let my wife take me to the emergency room. So I'm talking to the doctors on Monday, and I remember they're giving me an out, and I thought, okay, yeah, I can just get out of this thing. And then I thought that, and then I hated myself for it. And I was like, oh, you And then I thought about it after. I was like, should have taken it out. Should have really taken that out. You weren't being you were being smart, you moron. You got knocked out. So every time I trained for the last 2 weeks, I would get nauseous. Oh, God, I don't feel right. Yeah. So it was like one of the worst knockouts I've had. So when I got in there, it was pretty pathetic.
Some fresh boxing news. Darren Till is officially set to face former UFC fighter Darren Stewart under the Misfits boxing banner on March 29th. Till's coming in hot off a recent win in Misfits boxing, where he stopped Anthony Taylor with a TKO in the 6th round. But there's some real tension building up here. Till isn't happy at all about some recent comments from Stewart, who claimed Till is afraid to box him. Till didn't take...
Yeah, Till you're really scared. Yeah, Till you're really scared. Sweet Caroline is scared. You know what I mean?
Those comments lying down. He fired back on X with some serious heat. I was going to be really respectful to Darren Stewart in this upcoming fight. I've never had a bad word to say about him, and I respected his UFC thus far. Now I see a video of him saying Darren Till is scared to fight him, which I find really confusing that a lot of these guys are saying these days. How on earth am I scared of all these absolute bums who never even made it to the UFC? Half of them. And the ones that did make it couldn't make it to the top 30, never mind top 5. So how are they sitting there going, I know what I'll say, Darren Till is scared. I've literally just come out of a fight weeks ago and now jumped into this one with Darren. He didn't stop there. There's a lot of things I am, but one for certain is not fearful of any man. So Darren, you little bum, keep your trap shut and turn up and earn your 30 or 40K, whatever it is you're earning. And that's that. The truth of the matter is you and one other were the only ones willing to accept the fight, so we chose your bum. Little bum. Where there was no beef, now there is beef, and the dentist is going to get terrored at the presser. And now, let me wrap up these fascinating MMA developments. The drama between Eric Nicksick and Sean Strickland continues to unfold in interesting ways. After Strickland's loss to Duplessis, Nicksick appeared on the Ariel Helwani show and described Sean's performance as uninspiring. This led to Strickland announcing that Nicksick would likely not be in his corner for future fights. Nicksick has now addressed this situation, acknowledging his mistakes while emphasizing the valuable lessons learned.
Guarantee you this, if I'm in his corner or not, you think he's going to fight harder next time?
Definitely.
So, did I f*** up? Did I go out and call him out? Or did I say anything that no one else was saying? I was probably the best on him compared to Dean Thomas, or other people, right? Bilal Muhammad, like these guys were going after him, and they're, oh, you're piling on. No, I'm being open and honest to the constructive criticism that we all should take on, right? Myself included, Danny, the gym, Sean, right?
Yep.
So I've learned so much during this time. I f***ed up. I shouldn't have said what I said, and I should have gone on Ariel. MMA media is not your friend. Ariel did nothing wrong.
Right.
But the way it splinters off into is where I f***ed up.
The plot thickens with Justin James, another coach from Extreme Couture, weighing in on this situation between Strickland and Nicksick. He revealed there was apparently a financial dispute between them. According to James, Eric sent Sean a very long text message. It's like 5 paragraphs talking about payment and so forth. I know what was talked about, but it's not the public's business. He sent him a very long text message wanting to talk about their agreement, and Sean ghosted him. James provided more context, explaining, that obviously would be very upsetting if I'm calling somebody to talk about what I think I deserve and what I'm being paid, and they just don't answer. That would piss me off. I imagine Eric had some emotion about that. To go on Sean saying he didn't want to fight, he was only fighting for a paycheck. Well, you look at Eric's personal life. He has a family in Vegas. He has 100 other fighters that he works with. He has a gym that he manages. He continued. For him to take off the time to put in, he's putting in an 8-week fight camp, working with him for 8 weeks, then going to Australia for 2 weeks, just for a guy that doesn't care about winning. He felt that not only was he shorted financially, he was taking time away from his other fighters that do want to compete seriously, and he wasn't getting paid what he thought he deserved. However, Strickland wasn't about to let these claims go unanswered. He took to Instagram with a direct response, writing, "This is completely false." He followed up with another pointed message. "Bro, all these washed up fighters doing podcasts act like women. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You are watching the MMA News. Bye."